Let's go. That's uh, that's definitely a different format that we have been using, connecting with you, and just wanted to take this opportunity to welcome you to uh, this monologue from me. But later, I hope that will become a dialogue. You'll have the opportunity to ask question directly or by typing question at the end of this session. But I'll get back soon. So again, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for being a long historical supporter of the zoo. There's 100 of you that have signed in for that session. So when the communication team came to me and offered me the opportunity, I thought it was nice, but I never thought there would be that many of you answering the call and again, showing how you are curious about your zoo and as much as I do, a passion about what we do. Welcome to my office. This is a little piece of our forest, and just down there, I have the privilege to have a few turtles that are sharing my day-to-day life here at the zoo. So I will go over a lot of information that we believe that will be of interest from you. Some of you have asked questions already, and we'll try to cover this with my short presentation. But at the end, as I said, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions, and we will also get back to you. My team will get back to you when providing a short Q&A and to cover as much as we can all the questions that you might have. I feel like I'm living the same movie again. So it's like a broken record. If you recall, in 2013, we lived through this major flood, and I thought that was it. But today, I'm living this pandemic, try to manage the zoo the best I can, and to maintain our strength and our commitment to our community, to conservation, and most importantly, to each and every animal that are here at the zoo under our care. So on March 16th, we closed the zoo, and that was very difficult again, because as you have heard me saying over and over, the revenue from the zoo is only covered 16% by the operating grant that we get from the city. So everything else, it's coming from our earned revenues. So we have to make sure that the admission are strong, the parking lot, the education program, the catering department, the gift shop, the fundraising team is every year solicited to make sure that we provide the best care possible to our animals, we provide the best program to the kids and the families that are visiting the zoo, and we are able to maintain, even expand our footprint in conservation, mostly in Western Canada, but more and more around the world. So we have huge commitment. We're very, very ambitious, but now it's very humbling that we have to stop, we have to pause, and we have to readjust our operation to make sure that we will have the capacity to bounce back as soon as possible and redeploy our force on conservation. So shortly after March 16, it was very, very difficult for me to, again, just like we did during the flood, we had to proceed with massive layoff. And you may have seen this in the media that we lay off 60% of our workforce, but that's just a number. That means there's 253 individuals that have been directly impacted by the situation. So that was tough, and it will always be very, very difficult when we have to manage those very critical transition period, but they're essential to realign our capacity to operate and the revenue that we can generate. Of course, we had a small reserve of cash that we set aside, particularly after the flood, because we said, oh, what if something like the flood would happen again? But thank you to the trustees who have been, very cautious and been working with the senior management team to create that little reserve, but that cash will be consumed very fast because we're still operating a very, very expensive zoo. It's over $500,000 per month just to look after our collection, our animal care department, and we have not, and we will never compromise on the care that we are providing to our resident. So on the animal welfare side, we have absolutely not compromised that team. So there's none of the layoffs occur in the animal care department. And I'm not particularly proud or not. This is our commitment. We have a huge responsibility to look after those animals, and we cannot, start diminishing the care we provide every day. So the team of animal care, so our vets, our technician, our curators, obviously our keepers, keep delivering the best care possible every day. And without their commitment, their passion, that will be very difficult. So we have created new teams that are not coming to work all together. We needed to look after their health and of the staff, because we didn't want to compromise the health of our staff, their health and safety, just for the benefit of the animal. We have to merge the two preoccupation and objectives, and I think we have found not a compromise, but a very sweet spot where we have been so far very lucky, because no members of our team have been impacted or have been forced to stay away because of COVID-19. I can tell you that we have special precaution for our primates, because we don't know yet. And honestly, I don't want to know if COVID-19 can be transmitted to our great apes, or so the gorilla, or to our macaque. Probably, but honestly, I don't want to know the exact nature of this question. So there's special protections, special protocol that have been implemented to protect the animals for sure. And I want to share with you that recently I have the privilege to work at the zoo, and occasionally I still go out and walk the park, and I can tell you that some of the species are a little bit curious, because it's very, very quiet. So the camel is an example, or even the meerkats. When I showed up, they came to me more than usual, almost asking me, "Hey, tell me, where's everybody? How come you're the only one visiting?" So they're eager to see the visitors and the kids coming back to the zoo. Our conservation efforts have not been significantly impacted. So of course we had to adjust a little bit the number of projects, but some of the projects are so dramatic, so important. We have so much momentum, we couldn't really stop the engine in answering this crisis. So there's like the sage grouse as an example, or the Vancouver Island marmot project are intact. We might have readjust some of our Head Start program, but it's just momentarily. We have been very, very strategic, because our commitment to save species, endangered species, is intact, and we want to be able to contribute to that effort immediately when we'll be able to do so. But the majority of our projects are intact and still going forward. On the education side, you might have seen a very, very interesting project that emerged starting maybe 10 days ago. It's what we call Daily Dose. So every day, our communication team, paired with our staff in the animal care and our education team, and create those little, not vignette, but it's a little capsule of video that you can log on YouTube and on the web, and it's just phenomenal. The response that we got from our community is just amazing. We have 1.5 million followers now on Facebook as an example, and it's just less than 200,000 of them are tuning in, oh no, wait, turning on their computer to look at those activities and those video every day. It is fantastic, and I urge you, if you have not seen Daily Dose, to go on our website, go on our Facebook. You can also use Twitter and all those platforms, and you will see how dynamic and very, very funny it is. So I would like you to know that we are still the same committed organization to our animal care, and we will continue to invest our time and effort to conservation. It's tough. It's not easy, and it will be a big relief, hopefully midsummer, when the government will give us the ability to reopen the zoo, reconnect with Calgarians, and reconnect with you. So please, in this very tough time, consider giving to the zoo. Consider renewing your membership, giving a membership to a friend, a kid, another family, a neighbor. So that's a neat way to support the zoo. And I know that you will continue to help us delivering on our mission. So without further note from me, I will ask you, if you have any question, you can click on raise your hand. There's a space on the screen, or you can type a question using the Q&A button. So how the COVID impact construction project of the Wildlife Conservation Center. We had to postpone this for until next spring, presently. The reason why it was becoming too risky to start the construction and having the constructor or the sub or the trade not being able to pursue because of COVID. So there was a lot of uncertainty, and some of the detailed drawings were not completed, and the architect group that are working on this have said, oh, we might have some delay. And starting the construction in the fall or in the summer and stopping for the winter, that was not the preferred option, because we don't want to mobilize twice the workers going to the new site. So we're still fully committed. We have kept the resources aside, and we will, I want to complete this as soon as possible, because it is so vital to our ability to continue to be impactful in breeding endangered species for our release program. Another question? Oops. Just click here, please, so I can read the question. Okay. Oh, it's mostly presently, I know that the leopard frogs Head Start have been postponed. Only the Head Start segment. So we will have biologists in the field probably. What we will not do is to translocate some egg mass to our breeding facility, because that's very, very time consuming and very intensive. So that aspect of the leopard frog, northern leopard frog project might be postponed for this year. The other one is the burrowing owl Head Start. So we have already, I think it's 20 birds at the Devonian Wildlife Conservation Center. We are committed to those birds, and we will be releasing them in the prairies in the coming many weeks. But we will not collect additional birds. So next winter, we might not have this program going on, but we will resume this a year later. It's all subject to the zoo being closed for a prolonged period of time. You know, but we have to be realistic, and we don't see how the zoo will be back on its feet very soon, and we had to make those very tough decisions. Another project that might be on ice is the prairie dog field work. They're not as critical than what we have seen with, as I mentioned, the sage grouse, or the Vancouver Island marmot, or the whooping cranes. We might breed less few whooping cranes this year, but we have to look after the flock of birds and the breeding pairs that we have here at the Wildlife Conservation Center. There's a question about when are the king penguins from Montreal are returning to the biodome. Uh, that I don't know. I know that the biodome reopening was originally scheduled for May, but has been postponed. And honestly, they probably don't know when they will be reopening the biodome, but it will not be very wise to move them in the summer. I would object to any move of those birds in the summer because it will be too hot and too risky. So I would say, without knowing, probably this fall, but this is something that we can follow up later with you to give you more detail. Uh, there's a question if we're still getting bamboo from China. Uh, Today, yes. We have been informed yesterday that we might have additional problem moving bamboo from Beijing to Toronto. Presently, that's how we move the bamboo to Toronto and then from Toronto to Calgary. So as we speak, there's a truck of bamboo that is uh, moving from California to Calgary. I think it's scheduled to arrive later tonight or tomorrow. Um, and we'll see and monitor very carefully the quality of that bamboo, and we'll see if the panda will eat that bamboo very easily and with a lot of appetite. So it is getting more and more complicated to get bamboo from China, and the team have been looking at other options for sure. Um, the question is about how the education program have been impacted. The school board have canceled all of the activities, all the school program. So de facto, the zoo education program has been put on ice. And the summer school also have been not yet canceled, but we keep an eye on what will be our ability to reopen the zoo and to deliver those programs. So we'll have to manage this as we go in the coming weeks, but the chances that we will be able to deliver those programs are very, very slim for the next coming months for sure. How will the penguin be doing their daily walk? They are, when the weather is cold. This is Calgary. When the weather is cold and when it's not too windy, I've seen them walking around, and it's been, a very neat way to provide an exceptional enrichment and some exercise. I don't know if you have seen earlier today, there was another Facebook activity, and that was a penguin feeding. And our keepers were very generous hosting that group and explaining what they do, who's who, their behavior, and what they feed them, and the supplement of vitamins to each one of them. That was very, very interactive, and I want to take the opportunity to thank our keepers for subscribing to this very, very fun activity. Wow, now the questions are coming very fast. Thank you. So many of our animals are used to socialization from our guests. Do you think that they'll have a long-term effect? No, I don't think so. I used to work at the Calgary Zoo, and we were seasonally operating. But I can tell you, in the winter months, many, if not all, of the animals were very, very curious. That was probably the best time to visit the zoo because the animals were coming at the fence, at the gate, at the window, because we were becoming, their enrichment. So every spring, they were curious. They were welcoming the visitors, but after a couple of weeks, the visitor were just like part of the landscape. And so I don't see any long-term impact of having the zoo close, not much than what we have experienced in 2013 during and after the flood. With no visitors at the zoo, is there work that we can expedite? There's one or two projects that I have in mind that we're still moving forward because they are like cyber stuff and but not many. Not many, because it's a very limited number of resources that we have. So there's a lot of things that we would like to do, but it's dictated by our ability to keep everyone on board. Having said that, the new program that has been announced by the federal government in the last few days about the grant that we can get up to 75% to a certain number of cap salaries, that might help us. So I know that the people services here at the zoo are exploring and try to figure out how impactful it could be and how we will be subscribing to this program to help the zoo reconnecting and re-engaging with our staff, but also taking benefit of this financially. There's a question about if the animal enrichment have continued, especially with the primates and the cats, and the answer is yes, because we have not changed the level of keepers that are engaged every day with the animals. The volunteers are not working at the zoo anymore. I know that they have provided an immense contribution to not only the gardens or welcoming the kids or the visitors or being part of some of our education program, but they were also working with the keepers in many areas of the zoo. So that support is not there anymore. We wanted to minimize the number of individuals interacting with each other to minimize the potential impact of the virus to our direct staff. But the enrichment program are still going on, and I'll take another question. Is the Kenya conservation work still operating? Yes, not only in Kenya, but in many area. We have asked some of our employees to take vacations. We had some vacation liability that was growing over the years, and we thought it was an opportunity to suggest some of our staff to take a few needed vacation time. And I know that Donna Shepherd in Kenya have accepted to take a couple of weeks of vacation, but her work at in Kenya in the Iburu forest will still going on. Yes. Animal enrichment. Okay. Will contractor replace the beaver cut trees? What is this? To attempt to put back the. Okay, it's about the trees that have been damaged by the beavers on the other side of the flood wall. We have been working with the city to try to see how we can protect the shore on the other side of our flood mitigation wall. But honestly, I don't know where this project stands, but I know that we have talked to the city about taking a look at those trees. There's a few of them that have been chopped and partially consumed by the beavers, but it's an ongoing project probably. Preventing the beavers to be beaver, it will be very difficult. Maybe a challenge for my animal care team to train the beaver not to cut certain trees, but to go across the river to our neighbors. Just kidding. I know that some of you are listening from across the river. No, we have not. Oh, the question is if we have started a discussion with the City of Calgary about additional financial help. We have not started this conversation. You have seen the city, yesterday the mayor was saying that the city is losing $10 to $15 million per week. This is massive. The province also faced the same kind of very difficult time. I think our community is impacted by the virus, but also massively by this oil price war between the Saudi and Russia. We're caught in the middle, and so we have not yet reached out to the city. I think we need to, as much as possible, we need to look at ourselves. We need to reach out to our community. We need to reach out to our sponsor, our donors, our members to make sure that we do the best we can, and eventually we'll see if there's some support available for the other civic partners, including the zoo, of course. But we are, as we speak, turning every stone to see how we can be more effective and how we can take full advantage of the programs that are uh, um, created by mostly the federal government, who is taking on the immense task to protect our economy the best they can. What area of the zoo need funding during the COVID and after? If I would say that I will urge any donors to not to make the donation to any specific area. It will be preferable if it's for the most needed of area of our operation. So that will create more flexibility. If we can find a program or something that is externally restricted, so we can match internally and make sure that we come out of this as strong as we can, with the flexibility that is needed in those very difficult time and situation, because I'm very, very grateful that we have this management team, very talented, a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, and we're trying to do our best. So if we can have the more flexibility we can from any grant, from sponsor, or from donors, that's probably the best way to address this presently. There's a question if we have any problems getting meat for our carnivores. I would say a month ago, when we saw the emergence of COVID in Asia, and when that started in Europe, we immediately connected with our supplier, and we increased our inventory of meat for the large cats and fish for our penguin. So our inventory were increased because we anticipated that might be needed. And that's what we did. And now I think we are benefiting of this very proactive measure. How long the zoo can remain closed with the current resources? Couple of months for sure, but we're heading to the biggest season for us. As you know, the summer, June, July, and August are by far the most visited month at the zoo. And some of our scenarios are suggesting that what's going to happen if we're not reopening before September 1st. And we're going to lose $27 million of revenue. It's massive. So we'll have to cut as much as possible our operation. We'll have to take benefit of every program. And so the number of months that we can still operate is changing as much as we can be very creative to rethink of our business. And as an example, with the new 75% salary grant that we can get from the federal government, that can give us 1 or 2 additional months after a certain period of time. So I cannot precisely answer this, but we're talking about months. I think our cash position was strong and will be consumed probably in the next many months, but stay tuned. We might have another conference call like this in midsummer. There's a question about the butterflies. We don't have butterflies at this time of the year, so we typically don't source butterfly in during the winter months, because the sun is too low on the horizon, and the butterflies, they don't fly as much. They don't get the same, I think, welfare. So typically we have the butterfly from maybe mid-April to October. So we will not source butterfly this year unless we know for sure that we'll be reopening, and then we will buy new butterfly for the summer, for the season. But presently there's no butterfly, and there's no plan to source butterfly until we will be reopening. There's a question if we miss seeing the zoo guest. The answer is yes, because when a CEO at the zoo is stressed, because occasionally, yes, it can be stressful. When I'm stressed, when I'm tired, you know what I do? I just go out, I take a walk, and I look at the kids running and laughing and looking at the animals and the flowers and interacting with each other. It is just like a reminder to me and everyone working at the zoo why we do this. We do this to connect people with nature. And when you pay attention, next time you're visiting the zoo, pay attention to the other visiting the zoo, how much joy they express in their face, and how it's with great satisfaction when I see a parent leaving the zoo with the kid in the stroller that is at sleep, exhausted, dead. So yes, I miss the zoo guests. And what marketing or social media support can you provide the donors to spread the word about the donation? Um, yes, please use your marketing and your own social media to talk about the zoo, to remind everyone that we're a charity. People don't know typically that we're a charity, that we care for animal welfare, but also we are committed to wildlife conservation. It's a very unique place for citizens of a city in North America to connect with the variety of different species, because it's not everyone that have the ability to travel the world. Yes, sorry, I have a note here. I'm getting a note that we will send you an information after this session to tell you how you can help the zoo and what you can disseminate also to your friend and to your social media network. Which animal do I think missed the most seeing a zoo guest? I don't know. That is a tough one. Um, Definitely not the flamingos. They care less. They seem to care less. Maybe they know something I don't. Um, it's the winter, so maybe in the spring when the peacock um, are normally released on zoo ground, we might decide to keep them. I don't know what's the plan with them, but they might miss the kids that are running after them, try to get their feathers. Um, I don't know if the gorilla really enjoy seeing the visitors. They might, because it's it's part of their environment. Um, the giraffe, I don't know, but maybe Sheldon will miss the walk with the volunteers, and so I don't have any specific on this. So in respect of everyone time, I think we will conclude this session on this. I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I did. That was very pleasant to see that you had a lot of questions, and please think about the zoo. Think of how we have been able to build that facility together, how how resilience we have expressed after the flood, and how committed we are again to come out of this pandemic crisis strong and even stronger than before, committed to animal welfare, education, and wildlife conservation. So thank you very much for supporting wildlife conservation. Take care and wash your hand.